morning. Welcome to our Sunday school time this morning. We are still talking about the Beatitudes, and this week we are going to climb back up the mountain, join the people following Jesus, and continue to learn from his lessons that he gave. So the first thing we have to do is climb the mountain. We've marched, we've pulled ourselves up the mountain. This week we're going to do something with just our hands, and we're going to use our fingers to march up the mountain. I bet some of you this week climbed up, not maybe mountains, but some big hills. If you went sled riding, we had a great snow, and it was a wonderful time to go sledding. So think about that, how tired you were, and you climbed up that mountain. These people really wanted to hear the hope that Jesus was sharing with them. They followed him right up that mountain. So let's do that first. I'll count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you can have a seat and get comfortable and raise your hands up, stretch them out so we're ready to listen. Remember, they viewed mountains as very special places in Jesus' time. They felt like they were close to God. So we're just going to reach and stretch. So this week's lesson is this: Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. The people during Jesus' time had heard things somewhat similar to this through hymns and in a certain part of the Bible called the Psalms. You might remember last week I shared a psalm that brings me comfort. Here's a psalm that shares something similar. Psalm 37 verse 11 says, "The humble will have land for their own." So we've said a few words at the beginning of this. Blessed are the meek, and then we talked about the humble. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be meek and humble? Those are words you probably aren't super familiar with. So to be those things means to be kind. It means to be gentle. The people during this time, if you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about how they didn't have a whole lot of money. The rich people during the time had all the power and all the money, and these people didn't have much. They certainly didn't have land like the rich and the powerful. Part of that was because to have land meant to fight. You had to fight and force your way into land. So what Jesus is saying here is the kind people, the loving people, there is value in that. He's saying the opposite. You don't have to fight. The kind and the gentle will inherit the earth. So these people were really given a lot of hope through all of these teachings. But here Jesus is saying, the earth is yours. You kind, gentle, humble people, the earth will be yours. He's making that promise to them. He's blessing them and he's promising them. So there's something I want us to say together. It's a really important thing for us to remember as followers of Jesus and believers in God. Because all of this earth, everything belongs to God. Everything is a part of God's kingdom. So we say this: I am God's child, and everyone else is God's child too. So will you say it with me? Will you try? Let's say it together. I am God's child, and everyone else is God's child too. It's a really important thing for us to remember. Something I've been saying to myself this week after I prepared for this, because it can be hard sometimes. We get mad at each other. Maybe somebody does something that's really frustrating. I know my boys will say, this kid in my class is just a big bully. He's mean to everybody all the time. And I'll say, well, he's not a mean kid. He's a kid who's having a bad day. It's important that we remember that I am a child of God. Everyone else is a child of God too. We have to look out for and care for each other, even when it isn't easy, even when it's really hard. We have to remember that we are all God's children. This world that we're living in is God's, and we have to take care of it, and we have to take care of one another. So I want you to think about something in your world that you take really good care of. So I'll use the example of my dog. You guys have seen Charlie probably in some of the videos when I've filmed at our house. He's a big black dog. He's getting bigger all the time. And Charlie is something I really take care of. I do a lot for him because I'm there with him probably more than anybody else with the kids in school. So I feed him, I give him baths, I walk him, and I love on him as much as I can. Probably not, the boys really like to love on him, so they probably take care of that task better than me. But we take care of Charlie. So taking care of something that you love, it doesn't have to be a living thing. It can be something that you just treasure, something you have that's been given to you or that you've gotten for yourself that's really special and important to you that you nurture and take care of. Share it with me if you can. Ask mom or dad or aunts or grandmas to take a picture of something that's really important to you that you take care of and share it with me so we can share it with our friends next week. I would love to be able to do that. And some of you probably saw last week Ellie and Audrey had things that bring them comfort. And Ellie had her stuffed animal dog Peanut Butter, and Audrey had her blanket. And it's fun to see what other people have. So if you have something that brings you comfort, share that. If you have something that you're taking really good care of, that means a lot to you, share that. And we can share them next week when we're together again. So just keep in mind and remember this. I am God's child, and everyone else is God's child too. It's up to all of us to look out for each other, no matter what, to love, care, and be kind to one another. And what God's promise is, if we do that, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. So he promises us, if we can be kind to one another, God's kingdom belongs to all of us. Will you pray with me? Generous Creator, we praise you for making this beautiful world. It all belongs to you. Help us use what we have and treat the earth with respect and love. We want to be gentle, kind, and humble. True strength in your eyes. Help us remember we are your children and everyone else is too. Amen. Before we go, I want to share one more thing with you. Beginning next week, I will be back to doing the children's chats during the church service. So if that's something that you like to see, those will be back into the church service again. I took a little time off so I could focus on our Sunday school lessons, but throughout the season of Lent, I will be back. Most of you should have received the Lent in a bag from our church, and I'll be using those objects to talk to the children during the children's chat. And I'm hoping I can get my boys back with me again, too, to share that with me. So I look forward to being with you this way, and I can't wait till we can be together again in person. I hope you have a great week.